When it's getting hard, you're trying to save money, one of the best things that you can do is take advantage of sales at the grocery store. And this week, cranberries were on sale for 99 cents a bag. It's a 12-ounce bag, and I think in the past it used to be a little bit more. Shrinkflation, that what it's called. But when I can get these for $1, I grab up all that I think that I can process in a reasonable amount of time and get them going in order to create cranberries for the year for me to put in oatmeal and yogurt and breads, some cranberry powder, just so we can also flavor things, which are basically dried cranberries that have been sweetened. I'm going to show you how to do that as well. And in case we haven't met, I'm Darcy from the Purposeful Pantry. I want to be your dehydrating BFF to teach you safe and practical ways to put food in the pantry for your family, just like this, to feed them whenever you need, especially when the times are getting hard. You've got food already ready in the pantry for you or somebody in need that you can help. So let's get started with that, shall we? So in order to save money, I always stock up big time when something goes on sale, and for a sale that's the lowest price that I can possibly get it. And cranberries have continuously been a $1 a bag product that I have been able to get years on end at this time of year. It's Thanksgiving time right now, but this also extends well into December. For cranberries, I stock up as soon as they go on sale, and then I have time to process them because I also need that time, as I'm prepping all of the stuff now to use them throughout the year how I normally do it. So the bag says wash and rinse before using. It's important that you do that. Just like with other things, they're not going to have a great rinse at the processing plant. So this is what I do. I take them and I throw them in some water, just like that. And they're going to float because that's what they do. They are empty on the inside. This is what it looks like on the inside. It is quite hollow and not solid all the way through. So that's what they are. So throwing them all in, just like this. And what do I do next? This is what I do next. I just go through here and move them around. No, I'm not really washing. These are really hardy. They're not like some kind of soft fruit that's going to break up badly if you are a little rough with them like this. But I go through here and make sure that they're washed, rinsed as much as I can get them rinsed. Okay, so this is how easy it is. I take my cranberries, I've drained them from the sink, and I don't ever fill this more than halfway full, because what I don't want to do is create an issue where so much of the stuff on the bottom that gets stuck down there gets shredded into tiny, tiny little bits, but we still have so much left on top because it doesn't have room to move. You want to give it room to move. So here we go, just a quick chop. Occasionally you'll get a piece like this that is broken. You just can't tell that it's broken. That's good enough. When it dries, it will break apart just like this. It doesn't look like it's broken, but the blade got it. It will dry well. Then we're going to go ahead and fill up the rest of this tray. And I can get it good and full. It will dry a little better and a little faster if you don't cram it full of things, but this will shrink down quite a bit while they're drying, so it gives more space. But I also don't know how much room I'm going to have at the end because I've got 10 bags of this to go in the machine, so I'm going to try to get as much on as I can per tray. Now that time that was a little too full. Can you see? I don't know if you can see this. It's a little too full. It's about 3/4 the way full. I do really want to keep it at half a processor full so that it gets the best grinding experience instead of having too many in there to have to work through. So I'm going to take some out. But be very careful so you don't cut your fingers. Okay, so I want to show you the aftermath, okay? I have about half of a food processor left worth of cranberries. So what I'm going to do is process through these, and then I'm going to throw them in the freezer. This is what my workspace looks like. You might see all of the little seeds. Oh, there we go. The seeds that are coming out as we break them up, they will fall out. They also are going to fall out through the trays in the dehydrator. So by the time you're finished, you're probably going to have a lot of seeds at the bottom to collect. With my dehydrator, it actually has a tray that I can pull out that collects everything. You might want to put another piece of fruit leather sheet down there or some parchment paper to help do that for you so that when you pull it out, it's a little easier to clean. This is what I'm going to do with the stuff that I've just processed through, that I went ahead and chopped. I'm going to put them in a freezer bag. Just like this. Get all the air out that I can. And then this is going to go right into the freezer until I'm ready to do another small batch or a small tray in a semi-full dehydrator, so I can go ahead and get this dried then too. All right, I'm going to do this at 135-ish. You can do it wherever you want. It's not a fruit that I have to worry about case hardening, which is where you dry it too hot and the outside dries faster than the inside, and thus it can't get fully dry. I'm going to set the timer as I always do, so far ahead that it doesn't matter because it's not about the timer. It's about whether your food is dry or not. I'm not even looking at the timer. I know that this is going to take about 6 to 8 to 10 hours, likely. Probably longer because of the humidity in the air right now. And I'm just going to let it dry until it's finished. And I'll check it periodically just to see what happens. So here we go. There's all of our cranberries ready to go. So I think I said this during the video, but just in case, one last tip. If you get these and you cannot get them in your dehydrator because you bought a little more than you thought, throw them in your freezer, okay? You can freeze them. And then after they've frozen for a day or two and gotten really good and frozen, they will split when you're drying them and be ready just like you do with regular cranberries the way that I did them. They'll just be more of a whole piece as opposed to the small pieces like I made. All right, here we go. Here are our trays. But I have a little surprise for you, or an object lesson for you about when you're dehydrating berries especially, because they are the worst culprit of this. But it can apply to many of the foods that dehydrate. Now you can see right here, that looks like a whole cranberry. And in fact, it is. These have been drying for about 24 hours total. I did turn them off for just a little while and then start them up again. But all of the pieces are crispy, broken down, even the bigger pieces. The ones I told you, even if it gets cut by the processor and doesn't come apart, it still breaks the skin, which is what you need to do. But on every tray, I have found at least one of these where in the processing, it did not break the skin. And I didn't see it when I did it. When I put them on the trays, I didn't catch it. So what do I have here? Is a blueberry that is obviously not dry. What's going to happen with this? Pull it out, because what you do not want to do is store anything with your dried. There's another one right there. Okay. You don't want to store this with your dried food, assuming that your dried food is all okay, because you're going to maybe have this where the skin didn't break. And what's going to happen is that, well, you can see where it's starting to right there, but just not quite enough to break to let the moisture out. Take that part off. So what's going to happen is if you put all of this together into your pantry with that in there, you're going to get mold, and you don't want to have that happen. So go through and double check to make sure in any of the big pieces, when you're testing, don't just test this piece, but look around the entire tray and test throughout it to make sure everything is dry. And remember when we talked about the seeds? Okay, again, I just want to show you the difference. The ones that did not break during the food processing or during the drying, that's what happened. And you do not want to let that get into your dried food. The first thing you do too is that you allow your tray to cool off before you do any testing, because as things are warm, the sugars in them are going to be more pliable. So you don't know for sure if it's actually dry or not. You need to let them cool down, then test. And see, you can see here, these are crackly. They sound it. They sound dry. They are ready to get stored. And then we're going to do a little something different. All right. So yes, of course, we're going to store these just like we store anything else. I'm going to take them off my trays. When you have things that are kind of sticky on the tray, it's fine. Sugars do that. Some of these pieces, the edges of them do that. All we can do is roll, or what we can do is roll and help them release. Because even as sour as cranberries taste fresh, there's still sugar in them. All right, then we're going to do this right into our jar. I'm actually going to turn into what I do a lot. When I said something a little different, if you've been with me for a while, you know this is no different. I do this all the time. It's how I use a lot of my dehydrated foods. I make powders, because powders can be integrated in anything that you do. Flavored yogurts, help flavor breads, eat them as a supplement. I mean, just all the ways that you can use dehydrated powders. This time, I'm going to do it with some cranberry powder, because this will allow me to add cranberry flavor to yogurt without adding texture, which in our family tends to be a problem. Textures can, we all have a lot of texture sensitivity, some of us more than others. So this helps me put things in yogurt that makes the yogurt flavored without, and still gives the fiber, without necessarily creating a texture issue. bring you a little closer so you can see what I'm doing. I have a bullet blender here that I use. It's a Ninja, but you can use any bullet blender. You can use a large blender if you'd like. You can use a small coffee grinder. But what I do is I never, ever, ever just grind hard. Because one, you don't want to wear out the motor of your blender because even it tells you to pulse. But also because the more heat you involve in this, the more you rile that sugar up in here, the more this is going to get sticky later, and you do not want to have that happen. So, pulse. And then when you've broken things down, you can hit the longer pulse at that point to help it finish off. But doing it when it's all really big and bulky, grinding that stuff up hard is never a good thing. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this powder, and this is what we call conditioning. When you've created a powder, especially if it's a fruit powder or onions or garlic, things with high sugar content that can be a problem when you dry them, when you powder them, we're going to condition this, which is we will take this and throw it back in the dehydrator, because what we're trying to do is just take off whatever extra bit of moisture might be in here to try to help the process. Now you're going to see it's not quite powdery because I do still have a few lumps from seeds and some of the skin that hasn't quite gotten down to a full powder. I'm going to just take this powder and throw it into my strainer. A little bit at a time. And as we're doing this, we're getting pure powder on a pan, and some of these bigger pieces will stay inside. I'll do the rest of this too. You can do this helping out with just shaking it like this as it starts to work through. Okay, right here you've got much finer powder by doing this, and you're pulling out the larger chunks. Now, what you can also do is just take this piece, throw it back into your jar. Run this part one more time through the grinder. And you can see here what you got are a whole heck of a lot more seeds, because cranberries, surprisingly, have a ton of seeds on the inside that you don't realize. But for the most part, this is almost all seed and a little bit of skin. And I'm going to keep working this a little bit to get the rest of it out. And then this gets tossed in compost. And there's our cranberry powder. So we're going to take this and just spread it out so it's not lumpy, and put this back in the dehydrator. Yes, seeds and all. I have not done the seeds yet. It's fine. I'm just going to set this aside. And what you want to do is make sure your door is shut before you start the machine. I'm going to set the temperature way down low. I'm going to leave it at 85. The timer doesn't matter. I'm just going to let it go because it sets at 8 hours. I'm not going to run it for 8 hours. I'm going to run it for about 10 minutes and just start. And you'll see it does not blow the powder away. I'm using a lip tray, which helps. But if I were to have left the door open, the way that the air would move would certainly blow this powder apart. All right, just a few minutes later, we're done, and I'm going to turn this off completely. Okay, now we're done, and can you see the fan in the very back? Let that stop before you open your door, because what you don't want is even it running without power when it's just still in motion, it's still going to be pushing air out the machine, and if you open this door, you're likely to get that stuff blowing all over the place, I'm sorry. So here you go. There is your powder, dry, still ready to go. We've done the conditioning. It's time to store. Okay, here are my cranberries. Here's my cranberry powder. It's very important to label your jars, and here's why. One day, you might see both of these side by side and go, I don't know which one's which. This is raspberry powder, and this is cranberry powder. They look so similar, you might not know which is which. So I hope that helps to know that you can take really great grocery store finds, whether you find them on sale like this or maybe even on clearance, stock up, get them on your pantry shelf to use anytime that you need them. Now remember that nevertheless, no matter what is happening in the world, what's going on everywhere, she preserves to get food on the pantry shelves for her family and for others that are in need. And until I see you again next time, remember, happy dehydrating. See you again soon.